right, and we are back with our next candidate here. Introduce yourself to the good folks at home.
Nice to meet you. My name is Carl Stutsman. I am running for state representative, Indiana House District 48, North Elkhart County. Basically, the whole half of the county right up to the state line. So,
all right,
the very top of the state.
Yeah, that's had a long drive up today, and probably another one going back up, huh?
2.5 hours isn't bad. I live down here for a little bit, so I got a lot of friends and family and stuff that live kind of close by. So I'm always happy to come visit Indy. Also, it's nice to look at the state house and just imagine how things could be. You know how that goes?
Very good. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So, what was your inspiration for running for office and state house in particular? Why are you throwing your hat in the ring this year?
Well, this year because it's the time to do it. I'll just answer the back part of that question up front. I mean, if you were looking for the motivation as a Democrat in Indiana or as a progressive person in Indiana to actually have the opportunity to make change, now's it. At least this is as close as we've gotten in the last 20 years, I would think, to the general public being motivated enough behind it that the opportunity to pick up votes and make more money for campaigns and make changes there.
Yeah, well, we've seen it in all sorts of places over the last several months. Tennessee, I know that one seat didn't flip in Afton Bain down there, but we saw some in deep red Texas. They flipped. But Democrats are running about.
Look what happened in Virginia. Yeah, I mean, it's all of the evidence that you need that there is some sort of movement is there. The other part to that first question is I've kind of been flirting around with this my whole life. This is just the short resume to go back far enough. I was speech and debate kid in high school. In fact, I brought home a state speech championship for my school. And I think I might've been the last one to do it. So that's pretty cool. Go Concord Minutemen. And then I went to college with the idea that I wanted to be a political reporter. So I worked in radio for about 13 years, working for WTRC, all in news. I was a news anchor and show host and community show host, and was at WTRC up in South Bend and WIBC down here in Indianapolis for a couple of years.
Okay, yeah.
So I've been on that side of it, including working at the State House. That's why it felt like a natural choice to pick. Like you pick the environment you're comfortable with. And also, quite frankly, that's the stuff that I am most cohesive on. That makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. Yeah. And you know your way around the place.
Exactly. Yeah. It helps a little bit.
So, one of the things that I like to talk about is we have this habit of putting our politicians on a pedestal or building cults of personality around them, or even the ones we don't like. They're this monster.
They're on their own thing.
But like everybody involved is a regular person in some way and brings their own baggage or experiences or knowledge set to the table. What is something that you have struggled with that has influenced your outlook on life?
That's a really, really good question. There's a lot of depth on that one. I grew up in a house with a mom who worked at the hospital, physical therapist aide, 40 plus hours a week. She worked in the same department for 30 some years. She only just retired. And a father who was a disabled veteran. Yeah. And because of his disability, even though he wasn't really recognized as disabled by the government, everyone has their fun VA stories. In my case, it involves my dad, working around pest control in the military, and then that poisoning his kidneys, and then having to have a kidney transplant, and the kidney transplant caused cancer. And then we had to work with our local congressional office just to be able to get him the care that he needed by the time, he was dealing with the cancer. So as I've gotten older, as a kid, you just kind of live in the environment that you live in, right? Everything feels normal. As an adult, my perspective on that changed a little bit. The sacrifices that my father made, or the things that we went without as a family because of those sacrifices that he didn't want to make, but had to make because of where he was. And then you balance that with, well, how does the system support people like my family who's struggling to make ends meet, or really only has one person in the family who can work, but also 3 kids and is living in a trailer and is trying to make their life go by. And the older I got, the more the perspective on, it's not the who to blame, but people get into those things. Like you get into a certain part of your life and you're like, who's responsible for me getting here? And the answer is we're all responsible for getting ourselves places where we go, but there are things along the way that can make it harder to live in those circumstances. And that has shaped me quite a bit. just understanding that the challenges that every individual person faces cannot be written on their face for you to see the second that you look at them. And underneath and behind all of that is some sort of deeper thing that every individual person is battling with. And when you understand that, and empathy kicks in, immigration, school vouchers, all of these things start falling into all of those little places that affect the minute pieces of people's lives that either make it difficult to live or hard.
Right. And government can either help with those things or
or make it worse.
So those horrible VA stories like you're talking about, you can put hurdles in people's
way. And that's, it kind of feels like that's what, not to hijack the conversation, take that way, but I mean, last 20 years of Indiana policies.
Yeah.
What has it been? It's been slowly taking things away that we have over generations painstakingly built and afforded to ourselves. And now we're just taking hacksaws to some of those foundations. And then the constituents are all looking around looking for answers as to why it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is there's no challenge, there's no change, there's nothing to force these people to try and be better or do better. If they remain in control, they're just going to do what they want.
Absolutely. So, heavy topic. Let's take a little detour, do something a little bit fun. If you were a fictional character, which fictional character would you be? Or, if you don't want to go there, which fictional character would you like to be?
What fictional character would I like to be? Star Trek's on my mind because I think you had a couple of interviews you're going to get this from, but we were talking about it out in the hallway. I would really love to be Spock. Like he's the guy that, because the false narrative of the Star Trek world is that Vulcans don't have emotions and that they don't feel feelings, right? But the truth is it's not. Those feelings and those emotions and everything are so intense, but right on the surface is just that duck swimming on water. You can't see what's happening underneath because they for the sake of the Vulcans, because they'll go crazy and Ponfar and a bunch of stuff. But I like to think for human beings, what it is that being a reporter, being someone who people call a lot. And I've been that person regardless whether or not I'm running for office or whether I was in the news. When people have questions, they call me, or when they have things that are happening in their life, they call me. And being that person is great. And all of that sits underneath. And then right there on the surface is supposed to be calm and collective and look at these issues with sort of that calm mentality or level-headedness that everyone wants in politics these days. So I don't know if I am like him, but in that aspect, I would at least like to be like him.
Yeah, well, and in many ways, I think progressives like ourselves get painted as like overly emotional, or something like that, or we're more concerned with human stories and people's dignity and whatever and whatnot. Republicans are cold and just concerned about the bottom line, but find out in many cases that doing the right progressive human thing is actually more cost effective as well.
Well, it's not even cost effective. It actually all of us are human. All of us have the same wants and desires and needs. We're all trying to live basically the same sort of lives, which is go out into this world and somehow, against all odds, survive and succeed, given everything that's in front of us. And that's not Republican or Democrat. That's not liberal or conservative. And the issues that fall into there, you fall into where you fall in because of the community that you're in and the voices that are around you and the way that you've heard that perspective. But when it comes down to solving the things that are actually in front of you and affecting your day-to-day life, most people drop that line.
Yeah.
And that's the area where I like to fit into. It's like you said, everyone likes to think of liberals being overly emotional, but Spock on the outside, the whole ship's falling apart and he's just, telling the captain that, whatever scientific thing is happening that he needs to know that's factual and true is what's out there. So it's a fun character.
So, on the Enterprise, there were all sorts of different unique personalities, right? Now how to get along.
Oh, I got to show this off. Hold on, truth, just so people know that I know what I'm talking about. I've got the Star Trek insignia. Anyway.
So, but a lot of unique personalities, interpersonal dynamics that one has to navigate. Well, what are your views on interpersonal relationships with colleagues at the statehouse, be it between Democrats or be it Republicans across the aisle? You're going to go in there and be everybody's buddy. You're going to be combative. You go into cocktail hour across the street. What do you believe is the role of interpersonal dynamics with your soon-to-be statehouse colleagues?
You have to have it. You should have positive interpersonal dynamics, or at the very least, if you can't maintain positive personal dynamics, you should maintain workable personal dynamics, right? That's again, I keep saying this over and over and again in these interviews. That's the job. Like the job is to be put into this place with all of these other individuals that represent the various corners of the state of Indiana and cohesively work together to create something that actually works for people. That's the job. I don't know how you go into it with any other perspective. I mean, there are some representatives that deserve to be have someone be combative with them, if that makes any sense. There are always plenty of people that deserve to have someone who kind of holds their feet to the fire, says, why are you standing up for this? Why are you believing that? And yeah, sure, I absolutely do that. But remember, I'm a journalist at my heart. I'm bigger about letting other people see who you are by the actions that you take.
Yes.
I don't need to tell you how. I don't need to tell people if someone's not a good representative or isn't doing their job. I'm just going to let them I'm going to let that person tell them in their own unique way. So I don't know, I'm not going to be combative, but I certainly would like it if the status quo were a little bit less quo.
Yes, certainly. After a long career in the state house or not, or even just a good long life, what do you want people to say about you? What kind of legacy do you want to leave, for the next generation?
I just want to be known as being authentic and what's the word I'm looking for? I want to be known as being authentic and being just, advocating is part of just being responsible for everything that's happening in your community. And even if that doesn't go through you, you're the person who's standing at the top and has the ability to make change and make decisions. So what I want is for people to look at my career and say, yeah, he genuinely cared. He went into his own backyard and he found out what was really affecting people. It wasn't about, the party policy or the party stance or the conversation around however certain groups. He just did what was right because it was the right thing to do. That's the sort of person I want to be.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. So, with our last little couple minutes here of time today, how can folks get involved? Be it financially, be it through volunteering, be it through talent, whatever little bit folks have. How can they help you if they like your message?
Carl Stutsman, the number 4in.org. Carl Stutsman 4in.org on my website. It has everything there. It's got volunteer forms to be able to fill out, even in-kind donations if you don't have money to give, but you want to be able to offer us something else that'll help us with the campaign. It's all right there on the website. You can also find me social media. Facebook is where I'm the most prevalent. But anywhere you find Carl Stutsman, and I've got lots of stuff out there. You work in the media for 15 years, and people are going to find out plenty of stuff about you.
Right.
You drop me a message and let me know if you're interested, or even if you just want to talk. That's what I'm getting a lot of right now, is people who they see what I'm doing and they have a thing that they just want to talk to someone about.
Yeah.
And to be quite frank, those are the moments where I'm going to learn the most and I'm going to grow the most with my constituents, is in those direct interactions. So message me. It may seem silly, but even if you're not volunteering, even if you're not donating, if you're just giving me some perspective, that's worth its weight in gold. In fact, that's worth more than any money you're going to deliver to me. Knowing how people actually feel in my community about whatever it is. Yeah, you can't pay for that.
There's the people they hire consultants to go out doing focus groups and polling and to find out what people feel.
It'd be a lot easier if you just call me. It's fine. I actually have a phone number, 574-213-CARL. Try it sometime with a C, 213 or 574-213-CARL.
Very good. Did you get that intentionally or
no?
You
set up the Google Voice stuff and it gives you the list of potential numbers that you can get. And the second one was 213-CARL. And I'm not joking. Like, that was the second option on the list.
Amazing.
You can't type it in and pick it yourself. The universe decided for me.
Very good. Well, Carl Stutsman, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here with us today.
And I appreciate everything you're doing for everyone. Seriously. In a time when there's a lot of people that are getting involved in this, we need the time that you're willing to give us and the audience that you're giving us. So thank you.
I like to say that we're building a stack of Marshall lamps for folks like you to plug into.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.